Hello and welcome to ROG Pulse, your inside look at what's happening behind the scenes here at the Republic of Gamers. And today it is all about the RTX 50 series.
Yes, it is. It's like a holiday that only comes around every couple of years. It's so hype. Well, it feels like not that long ago since we launched the 40 series.
It's true, my 4090 and I, we're good friends. We're good friends. It's going to be sad to say goodbye, but I'm okay with this.
No, it won't. Not if you're upgrading, it won't. You guys got a small peek of these during our CES announcement, but I know that you all have been waiting for this one for a while, and it is a big deal. Everyone is just as hyped as we are. So we wanted to dedicate an entire stream to kind of showing off the full lineup. This is just going to be our first look. We've got a lot of content plans showing off performance and features and all kinds of other stuff for these cards. Similar to our CES after show, we're not going to be able to answer questions in chat today, but we will be hosting a Q&A stream next Thursday, January 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. If you want to ask a question, you can ask it live, but it is better to go ask it in our Discord. Our official Discord server is available at rog.gg/join Discord. Got it. Or you can hit !Discord in chat to get the link. If you go to the ROG Pulse Q&A channel, you can ask your questions in there. That's the best way to do it because it allows us to go back to like the engineering team or the product development team if we need answers to certain questions. I know a lot of you guys like to answer really specific technical questions, or sometimes it's like a why did you do this instead of this, and it helps us to go and have some of those discussions before the actual stream. If you ask some of those questions live, we might not have the answers live, unfortunately. So
Yeah, very
go
true.
ask
Very
your
true.
questions ahead of time.
We want to be able to give you guys
then,
as many answers as we can, for sure.
I know, yeah, I like trying to be as transparent as we can. It's just we need to make sure we have the full picture in order to give it to you guys. So
Very true.
with that,
Yeah, let's dive on into our graphics cards, and I'm super hyped that we get to start things off with a brand new high-end line of graphics cards. This is the ROG Astral series.
yes, it is. I'm so excited for this. This is like the new king of the hill when it comes to our graphics cards. This is the ROG Astral series. You will see this for both the RTX 5090 and RTX 5080 this generation. And man, is that design super
so
clean.
Yeah, I love it. It really, I don't know, it pops, but it feels familiar and new at the same time.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of last generation's Matrix 4090. If you remember, it had that kind of like frame around it, and it was this really kind of clean design with a little bit less kind of like embellishments. It's just really, really slick.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely there.
Yeah. But it's got its own flavor too, right? It's got that RGB light bar on the side, which I really like. It's just one clean bar of RGB.
I prefer that
I
for
think
sure.
I think this would look good in a multitude of builds, especially if you're going for like a really clean kind of aesthetic.
You know, I'm not going to miss my 4090 after all. This is going to look better in my machine. I just looked at my 4090 and looked at this. I was like, oh yeah, yeah.
Is yours vertically mounted or horizontally? Yours is vertically mounted, right?
Yeah. No, it's horizontal.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. This is going to look really good both ways, but horizontally mounted, you get that bar of RGB, and I think it's going to be perfect. Yeah. Now, you guys may be looking at this picture and noticing that this is our first ever quad fan graphics card. You've got 3 fans on the front there, as usual, but then new, instead of just that vented design on the back, you have a 4th fan on the back. This is pretty cool because having that dual fan system right there pushes up to 20% more airflow and pressure than our last gen 3 fan design. Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's going to be really nice for reducing some of those hot spots so we can push clock speeds as high as possible. This is going to be the highest clocked version of the 5090 and 5080 that we offer in terms of air cooling, at least. What does that mean? We'll find out. Having that 4th fan is also nice because it allows us to pack the heatsink fins more densely. And the more heatsink fins you can get in there, right, the more total surface area you have on the heatsink to dissipate heat. But on a typical card, right, if you pack them too densely, you're not going to get enough airflow through them.
Right.
So having that 4th fan like gives us that benefit of being able to increase the surface area. So that's really nice. If you guys remember from our 40 series cards, we also started using vapor chambers on our GPUs, and in
Right.
particular on some of the higher end cards, we were using this patented vapor chamber design where you have the flat surface of the vapor chamber, and instead of just having the heat pipes sit on top, we actually milled these pathways into the surface of the vapor chamber, so the heat pipes could like kind of sink down into it, and again, you get more surface area coverage, more better heat transfer from the vapor chamber to the heat pipes and out of the card. We're using that same patented vapor chamber design on the ROG Astral 5090 and 5080. So that's going to be really nice as well. Now, between the GPU and heatsink, we have switched to a phase change thermal pad. Many of you have probably heard of these before, especially if you've been in the enthusiast space kind of recently. It's basically a solid sheet instead of a paste, but once the GPU heats up, it kind of sinks together and turns into this very effective thermal interface material. One of the real advantages here is longevity. So this should last a long time while also performing excellently and giving you that thermal performance that you want.
Right.
Which for a card like this, yeah.
Yeah, if you're buying a high-end graphics card, you want a graphics card that's going to last you years and years and years, because let's face it, you could absolutely be set for a long time with the power this card offers.
Yes. Now, unless you're the kind of person who every generation likes to upgrade to the new 90 tier card. I know we've got some folks out there too that
Good for
like
you
to do
guys.
that. And yeah,
that
if that's
team.
you, you're living the life. Go for it. Yeah. But it goes both ways, right? Even if you're only keeping the card for a couple years, you know it's still going to be good when you send it off to its next owner, whoever that lucky person might be.
Very true.
Now, as of course, as you'd expect, the power delivery on the board is top notch. It has to be top notch, right? For a card of this power.
Yeah.
We've got 80 amp MOSFETs on these cards, which allow for more than 35% more headroom than standard designs, giving you better stability and more room to overclock the card if that's something you want to do. And we've built in some features there for overclockers.
If you're buying a 5090, you probably want to play
which
around
I'll get to in a minute.
it.
It goes both ways. I know a lot of people are also like me and like to turn the power down to try and get it super efficient. Because you can turn that power down a little bit without losing a ton of performance. We'll maybe show some of that off once we have some of these cards in hand. I'm really excited to see how these cards perform at different power levels, both above and below the stock power level. We did that a lot with the 40 series, and man, it is fun. And it depends on what kind of machine you put it in too.
If you're an undervolting enthusiast, let us know in chat.
Yeah, I put mine in a mini ITX PC, so I like to really undervolt those cards so it's super quiet. But we'll see. Something else we added to these cards this year. We added a protective PCB coating. So this is going to help protect against short circuits caused by moisture or dust or things like that, right? So again, if you're buying a card this nice, you want it to stand the test of time. And so this is another feature that we've added that's going to help you do that. Now, on the software side, there are a few things that we've added. Again, if you remember our Matrix card that we launched last year, we introduced a few new GPU Tweak 3 features that kind of worked with specific hardware on that card to do a few things. So one is that you get a thermal map of the PCB. You can see kind of on the left here, it's showing you different hotspots across the surface of the PCB. That's pretty cool, and that is something we have added to the Astral series. We also added our Power Detector Plus, which you'll see when this goes away right there. So you see if one of the pins in that 12-volt high power connector is not fully inserted or not making good contact, you'll get an alert in GPU Tweak.
So convenient.
That's really nice. Yeah, it just gives you that peace of mind, right? And then this is fun. The mileage feature that we added, I think it's going to show after this. That so like the longer you run your card at higher or lower power levels, you'll get kind of those pie graphs of how heavily you've been using your card over time.
It's an odometer for your PC. Yeah, but it's still good to know. It's still information that's still valuable to you, even if it's just data.
Yep. And well, like I said, some of this stuff really useful for overclockers. Obviously, you're still going to get all the ability to play with your clock speeds and your curves and things like that on the 5090 and 5080. And so if you want to play with that stuff, use the OC scanner to automatically overclock it. We've got all of that available for you. And that's in addition to the kind of software hardware features that we typically offer on our high-end cards. So we've got the Fan Connect 2 headers. Those are fan headers on the card itself that if you have case fans that you want to ramp up and down based on the GPU's temperature instead of the CPU's temperature, usually you can plug those fans into your motherboard, ramp them up and down as your CPU's temperature goes up and down. You can actually plug those case fans into your GPU, and it will track the GPU temperature and ramp up and down with that using GPU tweak. This is really nice in certain cases. So like my case is a little weird. I have 2 fans on the bottom of the case that kind of point up toward the GPU. And how fast those fans are spinning affect my GPU temperature more than my CPU temperature. So hooking them into my card with those Fan Connect 2 headers is a much more logical way to connect them and have them adjust to my PC's behavior. So we've got those on these cards as well as our dual BIOS feature. The never-ending battle between me and Jake. I like Q mode because I like it a little bit quieter. He likes P mode because he goes full power. You have the choice. You can just use that switch on the card and then further play with it in GPU tweak if you want to. If you want the absolute best of air-cooled cards, this is it.
You keep talking about air-cooled.
I know. What could I possibly mean by that? If you have space in your rig for a 360 millimeter radiator, we're also offering a liquid-cooled version of the ROG Astral GeForce RTX 5090. This is our ROG Astral LC RTX 5090.
Every time you say Astral, I'm just like, I love this name so much.
Good. We went through a lot of different names when we were picking this. I'm not a part of everything, but picking names is something that I sometimes have a hand in. I don't actually know who came up with that though. That might have been the product team that came up with that, and we were just like, yeah, that sounds cool.
That's very good.
This is obviously a liquid-cooled version of the 5090. It's got a lower profile heatsink under that shroud, so it's going to be a bit more compact, which is nice in certain builds. You've got a full coverage cold plate under there that covers not just the GPU, but other heat-producing components on the PCB as well. And this has 30% better thermal performance than air cooling, which
that's massive.
Is nuts. I mean, you've got that big, thick 360 millimeter radiator, so I would hope that thing can kick some serious butt.
Right.
But this is the cream of the crop of the RTX 50 series from ROG.
And that's usually true for our LCs in general, just because our liquid cooled cards perform so well. But man, that's a nice.
And this one looks even more like the Matrix card now that it's LC and it's just got the one fan. It's like this is so Matrix. I love it. And the RGB.
In a way, that's what Matrix is. Matrix is always like the innovative technologies that come to the next generation in a lot of ways, right? So when you see a Matrix card, they are a limited release, they are a collector's item in a lot of ways, but they're also a preview and a look into the future as to what we're going to do next.
Sometimes, sometimes it's just like let's do something weird, and sometimes we can, if we find something that we really like and we're like, wait, this is actually really feasible, we can carry that forward into the next generation.
And that's true in this case, which is great, because all these new software features, all this new stuff coming to the 50 series is phenomenal.
Started on the Matrix. Now, all that said, we've so far only talked about the 5090 and the 5080.
Yep.
So what about those who want a high-end version of the 5070 and 5070 Ti? That is where ROG Strix comes in. Oh, I love this design.
Yeah, so let's talk about it really quick. So the body really reminds me of the 40 series, like the actual physical shape of it, right? That really feels a lot like the 40 series. But the 40 series, I'm looking at mine right now, it's mostly RGB in the ROG text on the bottom right when you're looking at that.
And just that edge.
Side angle, yep. And just the edge. But here you've got that full RGB strip, that kind of pixelated effect to it, the ROG logo in the center. Oh, it's gorgeous. I mean,
that strip on the bottom kind of reminds me of the design of the 30 series. It's kind of mixing the 40 series and 30 series a little bit. Although I love that like dot, whatever that dot design is, almost looks like Braille or something. It's for some reason I just think that's so cool. It looks like stars maybe. And then of course on the front you've got the ROG Strix text, which is also RGB. This is really going to look nice both in vertical and horizontal orientations.
Yeah. This is peak
like you could put this in like a regular GPU, or you could put it in vertically and like really like it kind of becomes a showpiece, a centerpiece of your build, especially if you have a Strix motherboard to go with it.
That's true. If you want
which we talked about a few days ago.
Yeah, that's true.
So the like last generation, this model has a vented exoskeleton, like you can see. It doesn't have that fourth fan that the Astral series has, but you still get that vent along the back. It's got a dual BIOS switch. It's got high-end power delivery on it. It also features the PCB coating that we mentioned for the Astral series, so that's coming to Strix as well. The 5070 Ti also features a vapor chamber. So
Nice.
you're going to get that extra boost in thermal efficiency, which is going to be really nice. So this is ROG Strix is still a high-end card. If you want the best cooling, the best clock speeds, and in my opinion, the best looking design for the 5070 and 5070 Ti, you're going to want the ROG Strix variants. So I don't have like a chart for this, but it's like Astral for 5090, 5080, Strix for 5070 and 5070 Ti, and that together makes up the entire ROG lineup of graphics cards, our highest end options that ASUS offers.
Yeah, I love that.
That said, yeah, it's good, and it's not the like it's that's the entire ROG lineup, but ASUS offers other GPU families as well, right? It's not just ROG, so we do have to give them a shout as well, and that includes the old reliable, the workhorse TUF gaming family.
Look at this.
I like design. This is a nice, again, it looks it's got a similar shape to last generation's GPU, but it's got a little bit more of its own personality, especially compared with Strix. Like the distinction between them is stronger this year. I love the little like bolt or rivets like that are just kind of sticking off the front. That's so quintessentially TUF. I think that looks really cool.
Yeah, the last couple generations have been like kind of bleeding into this like almost mecha style almost, and I like it a lot. I think the TUF brand has really come a long way. I personally love the RGB of ROG, but a lot of people don't want RGB in their system. They want something that looks a little bit more like this military grade almost aesthetic, and yeah, it's really cool.
Yep, and you do still have a little bit of RGB on the end there, that TUF logo, but you can of course turn that off.
It's no Astral.
No, it's not. But it does give you that little bit of extra, like if you want to turn that on with Aura Sync and coordinate it, because I'm actually using a TUF GPU in my system right now, and it coordinates with the rest of the system. It's just a nice little punch of color there, which is cool. So along with the TUF cards, right, we're going to be offering all 4 GPUs in TUF models, 5070 all the way up to 5090. The 5090 model features a vapor chamber, and all 4 models feature the new phase change thermal compound and the protected PCB coating that I mentioned from ROG Astral and ROG Strix. Both of those features, as we kind of mentioned, are designed to enhance the longevity of the card, which makes them the perfect match for TUF gaming, right? Like that's the whole kind of ethos of TUF, right? The military grade components, the other features designed for durability and longevity. It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Those are the TUF gaming variants of those GPUs. Now, there's one more to mention. If you guys remember, we recently introduced ASUS Prime graphics cards to the crew. Some of you may be familiar with our ASUS Prime series of motherboards. They're kind of like our most affordable, like really good kind of bang for your buck motherboards. And now we've got a line of graphics cards with the same branding and kind of the same ethos, right? So these are going to be our MSRP cards of the bunch. Which I love because they're triple fan.
Right.
You don't always get 3 fans on the MSRP version of a given card. So I really like to see that. You also get the phase change thermal compound, which I mentioned.
Wow.
And the 5080 model features a vapor chamber. Oh. So it's like you're still getting some decently premium features on these cards.
Absolutely.
The other thing I like about these is that the 5070, 5070 Ti, and 5080 from Prime are all 2.5 slots thick.
Tall boys.
So, yeah, you tall, but you still get a little bit of room for expansion if you need it, which is cool depending on your motherboard. I like having the option of all 3 of these different cards, kind of in different thicknesses and whatnot, to kind of customize to your specific build and fit what you need.
Oh, I was thinking the other way around. Yeah, no, these are actually great because you're going to get more room for your PCI slots, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's nice. You have a lot of choices to go with. You got Prime, you've got TUF, and then you've got Strix and Astral on the high end to carry you through whatever kind of build you're putting together.
Nice.
Oh, one other thing I didn't mention. All of our 50 series graphics cards, all of the ASUS cards come bundled with Muse Tree, which is our ASUS exclusive AI powered image generation app. So if you want to play with some cool like AI art stuff powered by your fancy new GPU, you've got our software with it for free. It's really easy to use and kind of a fun way to play around with that kind of stuff.
I was at one of our events in New York City where they were kind of showcasing this with a bunch of different like influencers and stuff that were playing with it. There was like tons of different booths and stations where people could do stuff, but the Muse Tree station was by far the most attended like station people went to.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned that because at CES last year, we had, I think we didn't have Muse Tree at the time, but we were using some like AI image generation stuff as a demo on some of our machines. And Napoleon and I started playing around with it a little bit too much and had a little bit too much fun because it started off as just it was a picture of a duck. Because like we have Roger, the ROG duck is like one of our like funny little mascots. Yeah. But then it was like put the duck in a cyberpunk city because that's ROG. But then we just started adding like more and more stuff to it. And I was like, duck with glasses, duck in a cyberpunk city with glasses, eating a hamburger. And it just like got a little bit out of control. I was like, put him in a suit. And I don't know if you can see this. This is the picture that it came up with. And I sent it to my wife because I was really proud of our creation. And she was like, is that supposed to be you if you were a duck?
Oh.
And I was like, that does look like me. So I guess you called it, honey.
I love it. That's a glorious.
Anyway, so Muse Tree, go play with it.
Very cool.
Now, I know a lot of you are probably also thinking about power usage on these cards and what kind of power supply you might need to support them if you're going to upgrade your card. We've got some answers for you. So if you head to our website, you can check out our full lineup of power supplies, in addition to a power supply calculator, which will give you a specific recommendation for your entire build, right? So if you look at the product pages for these GPUs, you'll see like X amount of watts recommended, right, or higher. But it doesn't just depend on your GPU. The CPU you have matters. You know, if you're using like an i5 versus an i7 or an i9 or Ryzen 5, 7, 9, that's going to up the wattage that you need in addition to what other components you might have in there. So like, for example, if you're using one of our RTX 5090 cards, you're probably looking at power supply starting at 1,000 watts and then going up. The more powerful your CPU, the more your total power supply will need to be. And we usually recommend going at least one tier above the recommended spec or the minimum spec to give yourself a bit of extra headroom. So if you're like me or Jake, you have maybe a lot of USB devices plugged in.
Too many.
Yeah, one might say too many. If you're overclocking your system, you're going to need a little bit more headroom for that. Or honestly, if you're just setting yourself up for the future, right? Because like a good power supply can last you a long time, like multiple builds. So depending on how you play your cards, right? If you buy a power supply with a little bit of headroom, maybe the next time you upgrade your GPU or upgrade your CPU, you then don't need to upgrade your power supply again. And our own ROG and TUF gaming power supplies offer a 10-year warranty. So they are literally designed to stand the test of time in exactly that way that I just described, right? So I wouldn't buy the minimum of what you need for your card. I would give yourself a little bit of headroom and kind of think toward the future, because you could theoretically save yourself some money in the long run. Plus, higher wattage power supplies, more efficient, quieter. What's not to love?
Very true.
So if you need a new power supply for your graphics card, we do have some new models that I would highly recommend. Our ROG Thor 3 and ROG Strix Platinum families are both ATX 3.1 ready, PCIe 5.0 ready. They both feature our new gallium nitride MOSFETs, which give them better efficiency and cooling and allow them to be a little bit more compact kind of inside the GPU. And they also feature our new patented GPU first intelligent voltage stabilizer and voltage sensing. And I think we have a video of this in action. It comes with an extra cable that you plug into the GPU. And then that cable can analyze your GPU's power needs and use that to determine how much power it's supplying. So you actually get kind of more stable card. It always makes sure that your card has enough power even during those spikes of power or if you're overclocking, things like that. It's a really nice feature to have, especially on some of these higher end cards. So I would recommend checking out one of those lines. You might also check out our latest TUF Gaming Gold power supplies as well, especially if you're building something that's a bit more budget oriented. We'll put some links in the description to help you guys find what you need. There will be, again, that calculator that I mentioned. There's going to be an article that has a bunch of just like straight recommendations for you, as well as a few other things. So check out the links in the video description to see some of our power supply recommendations for your new 50 series GPU.
A lot of good options.
Good options. That is all we can show off today. Like I said, this is just a first look at these cards. But like I mentioned, if you guys have questions, come over to our Discord. Find that ROG Pulse Q&A channel and submit them there for our Q&A stream next Thursday, January 16th. And also, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of our coverage of these cards. I know that one is on its way to Jake very soon.
Dude, I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped. We'll be showing it off on stream, like, you know, in days or weeks. I don't actually know how soon, but very soon.
I don't know if it's quite that soon, but it is coming. We'll be showing it off on stream as soon as he gets it. I may have one coming my way as well, a different one, so we can show off a couple of the different pieces of hardware. We'll be getting hands-on with them. We'll be showing off some of the new software features and things like that. But like Jake is going to be playing games on these 50 series cards for like the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So guys, subscribe, follow from whichever platform you're watching this on, Twitch or YouTube. We've got lots of gameplay footage, performance, feature explainers, and all that in the coming weeks and months. You definitely want to stick around for more of our coverage on the RTX 50 series.
It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. We will see you for that Q&A next week, January 16th, and many, many gaming streams to come. GG's. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.